When the worker pointed at the HOA president and said, "She ordered the pipeline," the whole courtroom went silent, like truth just punched the powerful in the face. But that was only the start of how I turned her $1 million scam into my biggest victory of $10 million. I still remember that morning. The air smelled of gasoline, not the usual pine and soil my ranch was known for. Something felt terribly wrong. As I walked toward the fence, my boots sank into soft, wet earth. Then I saw it. A silver pipe cutting through my land like a thief in daylight. My heart pounded. This wasn't an accident. It was deliberate. The HOA president, Meredith Claiborne, had finally crossed the line. I crouched beside the trench and followed it. It led directly toward her newly opened gas station beside the main road. My jaw clenched. 4 months, she tried forcing me into selling part of my ranch, saying, "It's for community progress." Before we go on, please, where are you watching from and what time is it right now? I want to see how many families, parents, and neighbors are feeling this story across the country tonight. Your comment helps this message reach more people who've faced unfair HOA rules too. I refused every single time. But this was invasion. It was theft under my nose. The thought made my fists tremble with rage. I called my son, Ethan, told him to bring the camera. "We're documenting every inch of this crime," I said through gritted teeth. As we filmed the line stretching into her property, I noticed workers' boot prints still fresh in the mud. Evidence, clear as daylight. Meredith had gone too far, believing no one would dare challenge her authority. But she forgot one thing. This land was mine, legally and morally. I took a deep breath and whispered, "You just started a war, Meredith." Because at that moment, I swore I'd make her regret every drop of stolen fuel. I stormed into the HOA office, mud still on my boots, the smell of diesel thick on my clothes. Meredith sat there, calm and smug. "Morning, Mr. Dalton," she said sweetly, flipping through papers. "How's your little ranch?" My fists nearly clenched through the desk. "You built a damn pipeline through my property," I barked. Her smile didn't fade. "That's community infrastructure, Dalton. You signed the compliance notice last spring." I froze. "I signed permission for irrigation, not petroleum." My voice echoed across the marble room. Her eyes gleamed with arrogance. "Details, details," she said. "You should have read the fine print." That smirk made my blood boil hotter than the July sun. I slammed my hand on the counter. "You've made a mistake, Meredith. A big one." She laughed. "I think you'll find the law disagrees." I walked out shaking, but my anger turned into clarity. I wasn't just going to fight back. I'd dismantle her entire scheme piece by piece. That night, I called my attorney, Brent Holloway. "Find everything you can on unauthorized petroleum transport. I'm done playing nice." He paused. "Dalton, you could sue the entire HOA board if this holds up." I replied, "They'll pay in gallons." As the sun dipped behind the pines, I looked over my land again. The same land my father worked for decades. I wasn't letting anyone steal it. 2 days later, white trucks rolled down my gravel driveway, engines humming like an army. Petroleum engineers, their leader said, showing credentials. I'd hired them fast, experts from Austin specializing in containment and transfer. Meredith had used fuel to rob me. I'd use fuel to win. They scanned the soil, checked gauges, and took samples. "There's active flow here," one said, eyes widening. "You're sitting on thousands of gallons." "Not for long," I replied. "I want every drop contained within my property lines, temporarily stored until this case hits court." The engineers set up massive steel tanks behind my barn, drilling carefully to redirect the flow. Pipes clanked, valves hissed. Revenge was engineering itself. Ethan watched, awe on his young face. "Dad, are we really taking her fuel?" I smiled faintly. "Son, we're taking back what's ours." By sunset, the tanks began to fill, the meters spinning wildly. The men looked impressed. "You're holding millions here," one muttered. I nodded slowly. "Let's document everything. Volume, timestamp, location. Meredith wanted a battle. Let's give her one she'll never forget." As I signed their report, my hands trembled, not from fear, but power. She thought she owned me. But I had 10 million reasons she didn't. That night, under the flickering barn lights, I whispered to myself, tomorrow, the storm begins. And oh, it did. The next morning, I woke to banging on my gate. Meredith stood there, flanked by 2 uniformed officers. Her face was red with fury. "Dalton," she shouted. "You're illegally siphoning fuel from community property." The audacity nearly made me laugh. I held up my paperwork calmly. "Correction. You built an unauthorized pipeline through my land. Everything stored here belongs to me until court decides." One officer scratched his head. "Ma'am, he's right. This looks legally sound." Meredith's jaw dropped. "You can't do this," she screamed. "That's HOA property." I leaned on the fence, smirking. "Funny. My title deed says otherwise." Her voice cracked. "You'll regret this, Dalton. I'll have every lawyer in the state on you." I whispered, "I already hired better ones." As her SUV sped away, tires spitting gravel, I turned to Ethan. "Son, never fear bullies. Especially the ones who hide behind fancy titles." By noon, she sent out a newsletter calling me a criminal landowner. I framed it. Proof of desperation. That evening, news trucks parked by the gate. Reporters swarmed, shouting questions. "Sir, is it true you took $10 million of fuel?" I grinned. "No, son. I protected $10 million of justice." And as cameras flashed, I knew the world had just picked sides. 2 weeks later, the letter came. State of Texas versus Dalton Ranch Holdings. Meredith had filed a lawsuit. My war had entered the courtroom. Brent patted my shoulder. "They're claiming theft and environmental tampering." I laughed bitterly. The only thing I tampered with was her arrogance. We prepared every document, the land deeds, video footage, and engineer reports. Every inch of evidence gleamed like gold. When I entered the courthouse, Meredith was already seated, surrounded by lawyers in polished suits. Her smirk returned. The judge, a calm man named Warner, eyed us both. "Let's begin," he said. The silence in that room could cut steel. Her lawyer began, painting me as reckless, uneducated, impulsive. I stared ahead, calm as stone. Then Brent stood. "Your Honor, Exhibit A." He played drone footage, showing the illegal trench crossing property lines without consent. Gasps filled the room. The judge leaned forward. "Mrs. Claiborne, did you authorize this construction?" Her face turned pale. I thought it was part of the approved plan," she stammered. Brent smiled. "No such plan exists. Here's the original HOA permit, signed for irrigation only." The judge raised an eyebrow. "Then, Mr. Dalton, your containment was legal." My lips curved into the faintest, most satisfying grin. Meredith wasn't done. Her team brought in a surprise witness, an ex-worker from the construction firm. He looked nervous, shifting in his seat. "Tell the court who ordered the pipeline," her lawyer demanded. The man glanced at Meredith, then swallowed hard. It was her. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. The judge silenced everyone with his gavel. "You may continue." "She told us to dig discreetly," the worker continued. "Said it would benefit the community and not to bother the ranch owner." Brent smiled wide. "This is hearsay," he shouted. The judge shook his head. "It's testimony under oath." I leaned back, finally exhaling. Years of being bullied by HOA power-hungry people, all crumbling right here in one moment of truth. Meredith's facade cracked. Her voice trembled. "This is all a misunderstanding." The judge's tone was ice-cold. "A million-gallon misunderstanding, Mrs. Claiborne." My eyes met hers briefly. No hatred, just pity. She thought control equaled ownership. She never understood what integrity costs. As court adjourned that day, Brent whispered, "You just won half the battle." I smiled. "No, Brent. We've already won the war." By the next week, the entire town knew. Neighbors who once sided with Meredith now crossed the street to shake my hand. "Good for you, Dalton," said Old Man Harris. "'Bout time someone stood up to that woman." Their voices felt like justice echoing through the valley. The HOA board called an emergency meeting. Meredith's seat was empty. Rumors said she'd been forced to resign. Ethan showed me social media posts, hashtags like #FuelJustice and #RancherWins flooding the feed. America loves a good underdog story. Still, I stayed quiet. Revenge wasn't my goal anymore. Restoration was. My land deserved peace, not gossip. Brent warned me, "They'll appeal, Dalton. Keep your evidence tight." I nodded. I've got tanks full of proof. That evening, I stood by the steel storage units, now sealed and guarded. $10 million of fuel humming beneath the sunset. It wasn't just money, it was dignity liquefied, proof that even a rancher could outsmart corruption. As crickets sang, I whispered to my late wife's memory, "We did it, Laura. Nobody will step on this land again." But deep down, I knew Meredith wasn't finished. People like her never go down quietly. 3 days before the final ruling, I caught sight of headlights by the tanks at midnight. My instincts kicked in. I grabbed my flashlight and rifle. There she was. Meredith, in the mud, wrench in hand, trying to open a valve. Desperation made her reckless. "Step away, Meredith," I said. My voice carried through the dark like thunder. She froze, trembling. "Please, Dalton," she whispered. "They'll take everything from me. The station, my home." I felt a sting of pity, but it didn't erase her crimes. "You took from me first," I replied. "You thought power meant immunity." Tears streamed down her face, mascara mixing with mud. "I was trying to build something," she cried. "You built a lie," I said. "Now it's collapsing." I called the sheriff, and she was escorted off quietly. No handcuffs, just shame. That was punishment enough. The next morning, word spread fast. HOA president caught trespassing on Dalton Ranch. The community turned fully against her. Even her own gas station employees quit, leaving the place abandoned like her reputation. For the first time in years, I felt peace settling over the ranch. The kind that grows only after a storm. Court resumed on a crisp Monday morning. Reporters packed the hallway, cameras flashing like fireworks. I felt calm, grounded, justice was close. The judge spoke slowly, firmly. After reviewing all evidence, the court finds the HOA's pipeline installation unlawful. A collective gasp filled the room. Meredith stared blankly ahead, her attorney speechless. The recovered fuel, valued at approximately $10 million, the judge continued, remains the legal property of Mr. Dalton until reimbursed by the HOA. I closed my eyes, breathing deeply. My ranch, my rights, finally recognized. Meredith's lip quivered. "He ruined me," she muttered. I turned to her gently. "No, Meredith. You did that to yourself." Outside, Ethan hugged me tight. "Dad, we really did it." I smiled. "Justice, son. It's heavy, but worth carrying." Reporters shouted questions, but I just said, "Sometimes standing your ground isn't stubborn, it's survival." The ruling spread nationwide. My story became a symbol of resilience, small-town America's fight against corruption. As I drove home, I saw the sunset glinting off